Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you game number 1 in a series between Liquid Snute versus STC here on Belshir Vestige. STC spawning as the red Terran player on the top left-hand side of the map, meanwhile Snute spawning as the blue Zerg on the bottom right. TVZ in this matchup as the game is already getting underway. Now, one thing to note, I believe this replay is actually an older one from the WCS qualifying rounds, meaning it is part of the previous patch. And with that, Hellions and Hellbats are going to become much more prevalent and much more promising in terms of damage because this is before they got hit with that giant nerf bat. So we'll see, hopefully, as things do unfold, what strategies will be coming out here. I have been trying to find newer replays for you guys. Unfortunately, I have not had very much success as of late. And, well, old StarCraft can still sometimes be just as exciting as new StarCraft 2 games, as everything is now getting into position. So far, we are looking at Snute. He is going to be setting up a hatchery down over here in just a moment. I believe a drone is already on its way. And yes, we'll be setting up a hatchery here at the 6 o'clock position. Meanwhile, STC actually going for a command center first here, a little bit of a risky maneuver, but is going to get that economic advantage going for himself as well. Setting up that command center straight up down here on the lower portion of the map at the 12 o'clock position, meaning he is not going to be forced to lift off and land that command center to get it into a better place. That is very, very good news that's a lot of good news for STC, as STC does need to get a very strong economy going when trying to go up against the Zerg. So far, that SCV walking around with minerals in hand, gonna just go ahead and perhaps try to deposit those minerals back at home in just a moment. You can see him now making his rounds and heading back already. Gas already coming into play by STC in addition to that barracks. Meanwhile, gas and spawning pool already coming into play as well, as the TVZ is going to be getting into position here. Now, Snute has a number of options to try to deal with the economic harassment that will most likely be coming in from STC. STC needs to make sure that he doesn't give a free license to drone up to Snute. If Snute is able to freely train up drones and queens and just macro, there's not much a Terran player can really do to try and stop him. You can see that a bunker is coming into place here just as a bit of delay for any Zerglings that are going to try and run by, but I believe STC should be following this up with a factory and most likely some sort of either starport or armory in order to get the necessary damage done to these economic lines here. So far, though, Snute just now getting up his second queen at the natural expansion. In addition, inside the main, Snute is now making his way down with this queen. A little bit interesting that he's not training up an additional queen off over here. Not quite sure what to make of this, as there is now 2 queens at the natural expansion. Normally, you try to keep that queen here at that third base as long as possible, but Snute is really just focusing on getting up a lot of drones. You can see that spawn larva just went off there. You can see more drones are being trained, 4 drones at a time now. As this hatchery is in play, we should be seeing a creep tumor be laid down here in just a moment, and then Snute may decide to start walking a queen over here to the far side of the map. So far, though, 2 queens, both at 1 hatchery. It looks like Snute is going to be walking back with this queen now, as Snute does know a little bit of walking distance, a little bit of exercise for that queen, not that big of a problem. STC also setting up that third command center here at what I will call the 6 o'clock position of his base, in between the main and the natural, as the Hellions are being trained. So far, though, I don't see an armory anywhere on the map, so it may just be double Widow Mines coming in from the Terran player in order to try to stop harassment himself. No, it is going to, in fact, be a lot of Hellions. So the Hellions are going to be wandering down here around the far side of the map. Here we go. The Hellions going to perhaps run inside here, get in some easy torching. And now that I'm seeing these Hellions and not Hellbats, I am wondering whether or what particular version of the game I am watching here. I'll have to double check. Perhaps the Hellions and the Hellbats were hit with that nerf bat still. So far here, you can see supply depots are coming into position. There are a whole bunch of Zerglings. They are going to get that metabolic boost just at the right time. The Hellions are now coming back here, and a little bit of just stepping all around to try and finish off those units. It looks as though, yes, another Zergling or another round of Zerglings will take them down here. More Hellions are going to be trained up as those Zerglings are going to get stuck at this front door here. Unable to take down the reactor. Free shots trying to take down Hellion after Hellion as the Zerglings are unable to push through. A beautiful seal on that front door, and it looks like the damage has pretty much been minimized. The last of these Zerglings will fall. And let's take a look at the losses already. 650 versus 450 in terms of losses. But there is still a 51 drone to 39 SCV advantage. On top of that, though, we are getting in 3 mules. So the income should be rather close at this point. Given the Zerg has a little bit of a mineral lead. But the Terran does have a little bit of a gas lead. Double Widow Mines now being added as well. The Hellions need to perhaps do a little bit of driving, trying to find where exactly their opponent is the weakest and take down some of these drones. Snute is looking very strong at this point, and as long as Snute is able to hold up on these 3 bases, he's going to be hitting around maximum supply in the next 5 or 6 minutes. That is going to be rather dangerous for the STC. STC needs to minimize that damage and quickly, or set up his own 3rd base, and that seems to be what his plan is. Taking a little bit of a risky maneuver at the 9 o'clock position as the Zerglings are still wandering around here to the north. Zerglings not going to be able to make their way through. You can see the Hellions quickly torching down one poor Zergling there. But what is going on? What is going through the head of STC? Does he really plan on setting up a base here, even though there isn't much in terms of defense, much in terms of an army that he can get to go ahead and defend it? You can see that there is one Widow Mine right in that location there. Zerglings are still wandering around. An Overlord at the 1 o'clock position here pretty much shows what is happening as creep is now being spewed down. It looks as though Snute does not suspect the 9 o'clock position as an Overlord is now on its way over. It is going to find that command center as the Zerglings are trying to chase after those Hellions. And pretty much Snute is being given this entire expansion here. All right, SCVs are going to be trained up. There is that Widow Mine. That Widow Mine going to get off a huge hit there. 13 was that really 13 kills? My goodness, as the Marines are now marching on over to try to get in, try to just do some damage control here and finish off the rest of these units. All right, it looks like, yes, it was a bit of a premature move out here, and now STC is going to be forced to try and lift off this orbital command. That Overlord is already spewing creep. No real way to land it any longer, as STC does get off another hit with that Widow Mine, but the losses are already mounting up. Liquid Snute now looking for the kill. Does have a whole bunch of Banelings ready to bust open this front door, but there are Widow Mines on the front and on the back. There you go. One Baneling gonna get taken down. More and more Banelings. This could potentially be very, very bad here. The Widow Mines, are they gonna hit? What is going on? There's a huge Widow Mine blast right there, and the Widow Mines pretty much minimizing the amount of damage that we're seeing. A lot of damage dealt. A lot of that Widow Mine damage was pretty much negated, since the Baneling damage was pretty much negated, as the Banelings decided to blow up right outside the range of any important buildings. Even if they had hit maybe an inch or two off to the north, that would have been all the necessary difference, as the Marines are now trying to back themselves into a corner. Normally that would be a bad thing, but those Marines going to be holding that line as long as possible, trying to prevent those Zerglings from disrupting them. All right, more Marines doing some stutter stepping, and all we've really seen from Snute so far are Zerglings and Banelings. Those have been some very, very key hits all together, as the Marines are now trying to clean up those Zerglings again. So far, this back and forth game really starting to take its toll. As you can see, Widow Mines, are they going to even burrow in time? 3 Widow Mines burrowing right there. There's a quick shot there, as the Zerglings still cleaning up some of those repairing SCVs. The Marines now trying to run back here. There's a quick Quick pickup once more as the Zerglings. Oh, are they going to get finished off? No, not quite yet. What's going on here? The Widow Mines. There is some splash damage as the Zerglings are just the perfect unit to try and counter these Widow Mines. The Widow Mines do a lot of damage to the primary target and then do a lot less damage to the secondary target. So that's why we're seeing Zerglings being so effective, as Snute now taking additional bases here at what I'll call the 3 and 6 o'clock or 4 and 8 o'clock position. It is going to be 5 bases to 3 in just a moment. Snute really just heavily cranking out Zerglings and now finally going into infestors. Very, very strong units. That fungal growth could have devastating effects, as we are now going into 3/3 upgrades for those Zerglings. I would not be surprised if we also saw an Ultralisk Cavern as well. Snute really just investing heavily into all of these Zerglings, and I like this play by Snute, knowing that he's going to be going heavy Zergling. Got 2 additional macro hatches inside his main base. Alright, a fungal growth not really hitting anything right there. The Marines fending off the attacks. You can see Overlords are coming in from the pop, but a round of chain fungal growth should be more than enough to deal with many of those units there. Alright, let's take a look. More and more units are just popping out of the skies. Overlords are all taken down. Overseers catching glimpse and sight as the medevacs need to retreat. STC now placing down missile turrets, trying to shore up his defenses here at the 1 o'clock position. It looks as though Snute is going to let that base go, as he knows he has a 5-3 base advantage. Changelings now making their way out. You can see Widow Mines and Medevacs Marines getting into positions as well, as the game is now just going to be rolling on in. All right, there's a whole bunch of infested Terran, and 2 Widow Mine blasts taking down a number or 2 overseer or 2 infestors, excuse me. Those infestors now very low on hit points, as the infested Terrans will get shot down once more. All right, this medevac doesn't look like it will be escaping anytime soon. No, I take it back. With no air, those medevacs pretty much have free reign wherever they want to go. Now coming back here into the center portion, more barracks being added into play, trying to increase production. STC is holding this off beautifully, and this is starting to look like a bit of a bloodbath. Liquid Snute is constantly throwing whatever he has at his opponent, and it just isn't working. Time and time, blast after blast, hit after hit. STC is absorbing that damage and really has almost come out 2-1 in terms of the losses. However, the income story is showing a rather large difference here. We are going to be seeing perhaps the Widow Mines burrowing themselves here. All of those drones quickly going to be getting away. The production tab now adding in Ultralisk. 3/3 Ultralisk going to be joining in on the field, and that may be a bit of damage here, as we are now just, what is this? Are we just going to burrow to try to take down all of these shots or all of these larvae? Do larvae get targeted? It doesn't appear so. All right, medevac now dropping in Marines inside the main base here. All of those infestors now slowly crawling back as the Queens are in position. A handful of just infantry units causing a little bit of problems. I believe an fungal growth is just going to finish all of this off right there. There it goes, as now STC now taking the supply advantage. 187 over 174. This is huge. Let's take a look at the losses, and Snute is now in trouble. Snute has not been trading that efficiently, and now that the Marines are nearing maximum upgrades, we are seeing vehicle upgrade level 3. That means that the Widow Mines will have 3 armor. There's some fungal growth. There's some lobbing of those infested Terrans, as the Ultralisk and Banelings are going to be crashing in once more. Both sides at this point will be able to destroy the other team if the other player is asleep at the wheel. That is what is happening here. All the infested Terrans finishing off many of those medevacs. You can see the infestors are now just simply crawling away here. Baneling's now trying to come in. What is going to happen here? Are we going to perhaps see a fungal growth? Not even a fungal growth there, as the Banelings are just rolling on up, but the Marauders now looking to do a bit of damage here. All right, there you go. You can see Ultralisk now making their way through. They're going to go ahead and fall. Banelings now coming back, as well as the infestors slowly slithering away. Rather slow there, but nicely done in terms of stutter stepping to try and get all of those units back. those infestors looked really slow, much slower than I would have naturally imagined, as the Marauders now getting surrounded and corralled by all of those Zerglings. Now, Liquid Snute has once again taken the supply lead. Medivacs with 2 armor gonna be getting into 3 as well, making them even much more difficult to take out. Infested Terrans, as you remember, no longer get the weapons upgrades, and with, I believe it is 4 armor essentially on a Medivac, the Infested Terrans are only going to be doing 2 damage a shot. Has Liquid Snute finally hit the breaking point with this front door push? The Ultralisk, the Zerglings slowly pushing their way in. The Marines doing target practice, trying to fight back here. It looks as though STC is training up a whole bunch of Marines. There are a handful of Zerg units inside the natural expansion, but more importantly, also taking down some of these barracks here that are in between the second and third base. Heavy mining going on here, but I don't believe STC really cares about that. We're going to see some beautiful fungal growths, and now with infested Terrans also being lobbed in right behind there, so many SCVs taken down so quickly. The infestors doing a great job, as we are now looking at the Medivacs trying to pull away the units. Infested Terrans going at it against all of these buildings here. Neo-plated armor on those buildings, additional +2 armor, increasing their armor to 3 or 5 on a planetary fortress. Really helpful here, as the Medivacs still trying to keep these Marauders alive. All right, the Ultralisk slowly dicing their way through all of these SCVs. It looks like the worker kill count up to 52, and Liquid Snute has finally found the right combination of units. And after losing this Zerg war, constantly just bringing out unit after unit after unit, the STC does give the GG or WW here on Belshir Vestige. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed game number 1 in this series. Please stay tuned for game 2.